No theory, no bullshit, just real relationship narratives that you can use with women that actually work. I struggled for years until I discovered this secret. Numerous coaches over the years telling me what to say and what to do. My results were random, but I found something. I found something that gave me purpose, direction, and consistency. So after this video, you're going to have the single tool you need to create consistent and lasting results for whatever dating life you desire. So let's kick things off by talking about the real foundation of any relationship. The first, you understand that a relationship is just simply any connection between two people, and it is not dependent on time. The exact same relationship dynamics are present in a shorter term relationship, say a hookup, and a long term relationship like a marriage. But every relationship has a general vibe, has a feel to it. They feel different based on the emotions that are driving the connection, or the energy between you and her, or the collaboration that is greater than you and her individually. The relationship is really just a story. It is a story that you are creating together and telling together. Sometimes you feel tension, feel a spark, there's passion, there's intensity. Other times you feel comfort and warmth, safety, friendship. And other times you may feel a sense of ambition, like the two of you are going somewhere. You're building something together. You're transforming yourselves together. Relationships are absolutely not random. They have patterns of emotions and behaviors that are predictable. And these patterns can and should be designed with intention. And one of the consistent patterns in any relationship is the idea of a masculine and a feminine. There is a leader and a follower. Now, this does not mean that man masculine, man do everything, woman feminine, woman passive. That's 100% not the case. Nothing in dating is ever black and white. There's only ever shades of gray. And the reality that you need to understand is, depending on the relationship dynamic, it is possible for men and women to switch sides periodically. And the amount that they switch from one side to the other will depend on the dynamic of the relationship. The important dynamic to understand is that one person drives the direction and the other responds to that direction. And this is done through your narratives, the way that you communicate with each other. This is why when I talk about narrative and how to portray yourself to the other person intentionally, this is what I'm talking about, because this is the communication that you use to build a relationship. This is how the other person gets to know you. Attraction requires this masculine feminine polarity. Otherwise, the relationship is just flat. If you and her are either playing both roles or playing neither role, things either get confusing or they get boring. And that's when the relationship falls apart. You have to have some amount of that polarity. So all relationships have these patterns, and these patterns are predictable. And this is what allows us to create this concept of an archetype. It is a generalization that allows us to observe and create a structure around these ideas to help us understand them better. So let's talk about the importance of these archetypes. Archetypes correlate with values, both yours and hers. They reflect in the emotional needs and desires that each of you have for that relationship. It brings with it a sense of expectations, a sense of needs, a sense of wants. And these archetypes are not static. They do change over time. And very often, most relationships are going to have a blend of archetypes. Think of it like spices that you're adding to a soup. You want it to taste different ways. You want it to taste differently. So you add different spices. But imagine that you're constantly working on that soup. You're constantly working on it, and you're constantly blending new flavors together and creating different circumstances, different emotions. So for instance, a relationship may start passionate. It may start sexy. It may start with a hookup, but then it evolves. Maybe you hook up and you decide, hey, we actually like each other. Let's go out on a date. Then it turns into a budding romance. And you start to build a story together. You start to build more of a connection. And then it shifts towards ambition and partnership. Things start to become transformative and you start to become an integral part of each other's lives. In this way, these archetypes can actually map the emotional seasons of a relationship as a relationship changes over time. If you're liking this content so far, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps enormously. And leave a comment if you agree with what I'm saying. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear it. But now we need to talk about something even more important, the narrative. A narrative is your expression of your personality, of your life story, the person that you perceive yourself to be, the person that I hope you designed yourself to be with intention. And she's going to be doing the same thing. And your narratives, your self-expressions are going to come together and form a story. I almost want to think of this as a Venn diagram, okay, where you have two circles, okay, and you have you on one side and her on the other side, and where those circles overlap is your relationship. The relationship doesn't mean that you share everything. Your circles never fully overlap. There's always going to be things about you that lie outside of the relationship, and that's normal. But the amount of overlap is going to depend on the type and the nature of the relationship. So as you express your emotional dynamics with each other, you're building a story. And in this story, you and her are the main characters. And this is where things get a little abstract, but I'm going to do it anyway. You can almost think about your relationship like a shadow. Like it's there, you can see it, but it doesn't really exist. It only exists where the expression that you have and she has of your personalities come together and overlap. So therefore, the relationship is almost a result of this expression. The relationship isn't a thing that you can see, touch, feel. It is simply a result of expression. This is why narrative is so powerful. This is why it's so important. The way that you communicate yourself and being able to communicate effectively is the foundation of any relationship. So in this way, every interaction that you have, everything you say, everything you do contributes to the plot of the story that you're building together. So what you say, how you behave, the energy you bring to the table, how you respond to her, the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that matter to you, the communication that you have or this communication that you have, all of these things contribute to this story that you are building with the woman. You can almost think of it like one of those old choose your own adventure books, except the possibilities are infinite. And you're each choosing a direction of the relationship. So you make a move and she responds. Maybe she introduces another direction and you respond. And it's this constant pitch and catch and trade-off that makes the relationship dynamic and keeps it moving forward. You are co-creating the story together. This is why a lot of coaches that I've had in the past have recommended getting involved with improv. Improv is very powerful because you are building on the narrative that someone else is building with you. That's exactly the foundation of a relationship. And relationships, interestingly enough, tend to gravitate towards certain generalizations, certain archetypes. But here's what most men get wrong. Most men don't treat it like a story. They don't treat it with purpose or intention. They behave randomly. They say things and do things and they hope that it works. But when you're intentional and you express yourself in a meaningful and intentional way, you present yourself in a way that the other person understands. You're being clear and consistent rather than being fake and manipulative. So think about the story that you're trying to tell together. You need to ask yourself a couple of questions. What kind of man are you presenting yourself to be? What do you want her to think about you? But I don't mean this in a superficial sense. I mean this in the sense of, I want you to think about the impression that she's going to get of you. And is it something that she can relate with? If you're presenting yourself in a way that no matter how compatible you may be, if you're presenting yourself in a way that she's not able to relate with or understand, then no connection, no relationship can ever happen. And what energy are you bringing to the interaction? I mean, quite simply, is it positive or negative? Is it collaborative or is it approval seeking? Is it self centered? Are you trying to get her to give you something or are you looking to build something together? This is why we express who we naturally are and we let the attraction happen. Because as we know, women are in the risk mitigation business. Women want to know who you are as a person. They need to understand and get a sense of the type of person that you are and not who you think she's attracted to, because that creates inconsistency. It creates confusion. And when she senses this confusion, she closes off and she loses interest, even if she's attracted to you. So now we have to ask ourselves a very important question. What type of story do you want? And the way we answer this is by asking a few more questions. What type of relationship do I want to have? What does that relationship look like? Meaning, what sort of things are we going to do together? And most importantly, what does it feel like? What are the emotions that you want to have with this woman? Is it passionate? Is it romantic? Is it adventurous? Is it ambitious? Or is it transformative? Once you answer this question, you're going to be able to lead that relationship to where you want it to go. It's also important to know what she wants and be able to read the type of person that she is and know the things that she's looking for. Because women are experiencing this story with you. She wants to feel this relationship in a certain way. Maybe she wants excitement. Maybe she wants safety. Maybe she wants to grow as a person. Maybe she just wants fun. Or maybe she wants something that's more deep and meaningful. All of these things are perfectly valid, but it's up to you to figure this out so that you can take the relationship to where it needs to go. So if you can identify through her narrative the type of story that she wants to create, you can weave her desires into your narrative. And this is where the magic happens. This is when it all comes together. And it's not rocket science either. You just need to understand who she is as a person. So how do we begin to create this relationship? Well, quite simply through your communication. It's going to be your words, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. It's all these things that traditional dating advice preaches, but now we do it with purpose. Now we're not aimless. We're not doing things randomly. And this is what I call narrative. And your narrative will either strengthen or weaken the story that you have with her. And neither one of those outcomes is necessarily a bad thing. It's entirely possible that you're interacting with a woman who just isn't a good fit. But once you understand narratives and you understand how to convey your personality to her, we can begin to talk about the 5 major relationship archetypes, the 5 generalizations that I have mapped out that you can build with a woman. All right. Each one of these is different. Each one of them has a different emotional engine, has a different communication style, it has a different dynamic between masculine and feminine, and it has a completely different path from attraction to intimacy. And I've broken down this path into 4 easy steps. So let's break them down. Quick disclaimer time. These are general mindsets. They are not rules. I don't teach rules in my content. I just teach generalizations and structures for how to think about things. Why? Because your life is your game. You need to figure out what game you're playing and what rules you're going to choose to live by. Everything I teach is free. Guys come to me for one-on-one help with their specific situation. So if you need help, I'll put links in the description. So now we're going to talk about each of the relationship archetypes. And for each archetype, we're going to talk about the general tone and some of the general relationship dynamics of each one. And then I'm going to provide 4 easy phases or steps that allow you to create each type of relationship. So, number 1, passion. This relationship runs on energy. There's sexual tension. There's playful rivalry. There's masculine, feminine polarity. I like to think of this as the boy and the girl in the schoolyard. There's a playful dynamic. You two are riffing on each other. There's some tension. There's some spark going on here. It's fun. It's exciting. It's interesting. And the attraction is fueled by contrast and emotional charge. The general tone of this relationship is one of intensity. It's also friction, but also desire. So it's all of these things that seemingly contradict, but they all fit together in this very energy charged type of relationship. And it's important to know that any sexual relationship of any kind has to have some passion in it. That's why I put this one first. How do you communicate? Through flirtation, challenge, push pulls, teases, anything that creates some kind of emotional spikes, emotional dynamics. It's all about emotional contrast. So what's the dynamic going on here? The feminine is working to gain the attention of the masculine. One of my coaches told me, as an analogy, it's like the captain of the football team, right? All the girls trying to get with him. He's just doing his thing. He's living life. He's loving life. He's going to parties, hanging out with people. All the girls want to get with him. All right. Why? Because there's this polarity. He doesn't seem to care that much. She has to win him over. Why? Because all the other girls want him. You need to have that kind of dynamic. What's constructive? What helps to build this relationship? Confidence. Confidence comes from knowing what to do next. That's a core concept of what I teach. Knowing what to do next. Edge. And by edge, I mean like edgy, right? You say things that are sort of on the fringe of what's socially acceptable. You tell jokes that are kind of like, should I be insulted? Right? And also being unpredictable. She has to wonder about you. If she's not wondering, then there's no polarity. There's no emotional investment. What's destructive? Neediness. I mean, this goes without saying for really any of these relationship types, but wanting it more than she wants you. Why? Because it kills that dynamic like a bubble burst. Being passive and being predictable. If she doesn't know what's if she either A, understands that you don't care, or B, you're being too predictable, there's no wondering what's going to happen next. Again, women want to be in a story where they don't necessarily know what the end is. They want to know it's going somewhere, and they want to know, and they want to feel safe going on this journey, but they don't necessarily want to know what's next. Boring. So how do we initiate? How do we get this started? You make statements instead of asking questions. This is a great way to get this started. Instead of asking questions like, oh, are you from here? You'd be like, you know what? You don't seem like you're from here. See how that has a little bit more emotional charge to it, a little bit more tension or more polarity? Use light and playful contradictions. And I don't mean something like, oh no, I hate you. Right? It's too direct and it's too shutting down. But also it's like, yeah, oh, totally. We're going to go get married. You need something in between. Be like, you know what? I like you, but I don't know if I like you after you did that. Why? Because that creates some tension and creates some not knowing what's going to happen next. You need to create emotional contrast, different types of emotion. So she doesn't know how she's going to feel next. Go from serious to playful, to intense, to relaxed. This creates a dynamic so that she doesn't necessarily know what's going to happen next, and she's always wondering what the next thing is going to be. Your goal here is to spark curiosity and polarity. How do we create a connection? By maintaining unpredictability. You need to make her think about what it is that you're going to be doing next. Attention is the commodity. You need to keep her attention on you. Once you have her attention, when you've initiated, she gets the sense that, oh, this guy isn't like all the other guys. Oh, he's interesting. Ooh, this is kind of fun. Let's go back and forth, right? Once she starts to buy in and she starts flirting with you and playing along with your little game, now you know you're in connection. And now you have to keep that attention. And you don't do that by being passive. You don't do that by being boring. You do that by continuing to be unpredictable and playful. You can build tension, build sexual tension through silence and eye contact. I've been told I do this very well. And it's a simple thing to do where you literally just you can be talking to a girl, maybe you're having a logical conversation and you realize, "Oh, it's getting logical. I have to make this interesting." You just shut the fuck up and you just stare at her. Just stare her in the eye and make her think, "What is going on with this guy?" That creates that emotional investment. As soon as she starts to think, "What's going on with this guy?" Now she's bought in. She wants more. She wants to find out. Your attention is the reward for her compliance. So you say, "Here, come here a second." And she's like, "Oh," and be like, "All right," and turn away. Your goal here is to build tension without resolving it too quickly. I don't say you have to resolve it at some point. You can't just build and build and build and build because that gets really uncomfortable really fast. Trust me, if you guys are unfamiliar with this, you're going to feel it too. And this is frankly, this is where a lot of guys kind of tap out is there gets to be too much tension. And so they laugh, they get logical, they get boring, they do all the things that break it, but they're doing it because they feel uncomfortable. Learn to stew in that for a little bit and then break it. Because she's feeling the same thing. Okay, so how do we escalate this? How do we get this closer to physical intimacy? You're going to build physical proximity gradually. And this is critical because it's also how you frame it. You're not doing 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step. Okay? The way it was explained to me early on, years and years ago, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Okay? Where you get a little physical, you do something, then you back off a little bit, but you don't back off entirely. But again, that's the general rule that I was taught. The reality is, you could back all the way off. You need to gauge off of her. And I teach guys how to do that, how you can read that. It's not difficult, but once you know how to do it, it makes it super easy. Okay? So you want to give physical proximity almost as a reward, but not all the time. Like keep her guessing when it's going to happen. Okay? You want to hold eye contact longer than is platonic. Okay? You're going to be slightly uncomfortable. This is how you create tension. She feels the same thing. You want to use confident touch that's slow and deliberate and make escalation feel inevitable, not negotiated. Like this is the direction this is going and not like, "Oh, I'm going to do this if you do that." Okay? But also not predictable. You cannot be predictable. You can never be 100% predictable. She has to know that this is the direction the things are going, but she can never know exactly what the next step is. The key principle with this phase is the sexual tension dies when you ask for permission through insecurity. Just move things forward. And if you do it slowly and you do small baby steps, that each step is only a little bit more than the last one, it gives you plenty of room, plenty of runway for her to say no. And do it slow enough that it allows her to respond. So what do we do now long term? What's the long-term objective? Okay, weeks, months, even years into the future. How do we keep this passion, this romance alive? Number one, most important thing, and I see this all the time, especially when I'm coaching guys that have gotten divorced. You cannot lose your edge after intimacy. Okay? You always have to be the kind of guy that's pushing boundaries, that's taking risks. You can never be passive. You're always going to continually flirt with her. You're going to be playfully challenging towards her. You should have some spice. You should have some polarity all the time. Now, it may taper off as you get into a very long relationship, years into the future, right? It's not going to be, and that's okay. But you definitely cannot make the shift into pure comfort mode. That will kill it completely. And I've seen this happen time and time again. You also have to maintain some semblance of independence. You have to be your own man at the end of the day. She can never be 100% involved in your entire life. There's no mystery. She needs to know that there's some depth to you. There's things that are going on that don't include her. If you become predictable or overly accommodating, the passion fails. Number two, romance. This is much more attachment based. It's a lot less about polarity. It's much more about emotional security and emotional connection. The tone of this relationship is one of warmth, of affection, of loyalty, one of two souls coming together into a deep bond. You're going to communicate through affirmations, affirmations of love, affirmations of affection. You're going to share vulnerabilities. That's going to bring you closer together. And the reassurance, that feeling of being safe and vulnerable with the other person. In this dynamic, the feminine is seeking parity with the masculine. She is opening up and revealing things to you that she doesn't reveal to most other guys. Even her girlfriends. She will tell you things that she doesn't even tell her girlfriends. And you reward this by opening up more about yourself. You tell things that you don't tell most other people. So what's rewarded in this type of relationship? Consistency, openness, and devotion. If you're able to consistently show up and build that connection, being open towards the other person, sharing things about yourself, not being afraid, not hide it. Understand that this openness often undermines the required level of passion for any sexual dynamic. Like I said, passion is always present. It has to be. But romance is often at odds with that because it requires openness. So you have to be both with this particular dynamic. It's important that you know how to be both open and mysterious, and to what level. And devotion is also key with this one as well. The things that will punish this relationship type is emotional withdrawal. It's the only thing that's going to kill this. When you start to isolate yourself, when you start to not show up consistently to the relationship, not seek that understanding, that's what kills this relationship. So how do we initiate? We want to initiate a romance. How do we do that? First and number one is you kick things right off with warmth and affection. Wow, you're so beautiful. You are so amazing. I love your energy. Make it about her. You're going to ask values-based questions. Oh, you seem like you're such a kind, caring person. Oh, you seem like you're the best friend of any friend group. You seem like you're so easy to get along with. Have you ever had a fight with a previous boyfriend? You know, things like that. Find out about her. Share personal stories, especially early on. Stories, by the way, are just in general are a great way to connect with other people. And also signaling long-term capability in a subtle way. So you can either do this, something like, oh yeah, you know what? We could actually probably be friends. I think that would be good. Or maybe you can kind of do it as a playful joke. Be like, oh my God, I love you so much. Let's go off and get married. Either one of those is fine. You're setting a future frame. Your goal here is not necessarily so much about the future, but it's about emotional security, that she can feel safe opening up with you. And that leads us into connection. How do you build a connection in this type of relationship? You need to validate her feelings. She needs to feel understood. She opens up about something and you reassure her. You need to show consistency in communication. Consistency is key for any kind of romantic companionship. You need to be transparent about your intentions. Now, this doesn't mean you need to open the book and be like, oh my God, I want to have 3 kids with you and we're going to move to this suburb and live in this type of house. No. Okay. What I mean is be open about the way you feel about her. Be open about how you feel about her, the way that you perceive her to be. Tell her. She needs to know. It's so foundational to this relationship type. She needs to know how you make her feel. She needs to know that you miss her. She needs to know that you're so happy to see her when she's around, that you're so happy that she did something for you. and you can build trust through shared rituals. And this can happen so quickly, even if you meet at a bar. Something as simple as like, hey, hold my drink while I use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. I mean, that alone builds so much trust. To entrust someone with your drink, right? As an example. Your goal with the connection phase is to build trust and attachment. So how do you escalate? How do you escalate things? How do you get things to move forward physically? How do we get to that climax, that good part? Escalation should feel like a natural extension of your growing closeness. So as you get closer emotionally, you get closer physically. As you start revealing things about yourself, you start expressing your vulnerabilities and you start telling stories, especially things you haven't told other people, pull her in closer. Hey, let me tell you this. This is something I never tell anybody. You're so special. I want you to know this about me. And pull her in closer. The physical intimacy needs to be a result of the emotional escalation, the emotional closeness that's building between you. And as you get emotionally closer, you're going to get physically closer. It's important to know with this relationship type that you use affectionate touch more than you use sexual tension, because tension creates polarity. Romance requires closeness. Like I said before, you cannot have a healthy sexual dynamic without some amount of passion. But you need to know how much of this tension and this passion you should be introducing to your relationship. And especially as you're becoming more physical and you're becoming more intimate, she needs to know that she feels chosen. And you can literally do this by saying this. Be like, out of all the girls in the bar, out of all the girls I met in the last month or the last week, you are the most special. I like you because XYZ. That it is not a random pursuit. You didn't just choose her randomly. She wasn't just convenient to you. This is very important. The key dynamic with this phase is that sex is about bonding. It's not about conquest. So how do we navigate this long term? How do we build a long-term sustainable relationship out of this? You need to stay consistent. You need to reinforce commitment signals. You need to constantly reassure her that you are there for her, that she is special to you. And this is why. You need to just, all the things that you've done up to this point, you need to continue to do more of that into the future. You can't let it die. Emotional depth is critical. Revealing vulnerabilities, revealing things about you that are deep and transformative, impactful, things that resonate with you. All these things will build more of a depth and emotional bond. And when she feels that, she almost feels inseparable. Like it's almost like you can't break up. That you're so intertwined in each other's lives, you know each other so well that the connection is almost forever. Any long-term relationship of this type requires reassurance and shared identity. You're building this together. Number 3, ambition. This relationship is oriented towards something. It is not about the two of you together, as it was with passion and romance, but in this one, you are orienting your relationship to achieve a specific goal. This tends to be very popular among very high achieving and very ambitious type of people. The tone of this relationship is one of respect. It is one of admiration and momentum. Your communication style is going to be strategic. It's going to be goal-oriented. We are going this direction. This is going to get us closer to that goal. Most importantly, it is collaborative. It is something that is bringing the two of you together. In this dynamic, the feminine supports the masculine in his goals and his achievements. One of the hallmarks of the masculine role is to be the one that is pursuing, achieving, setting goals, knocking down barriers, conquering. And it's the role of the feminine to support that. And the key with this dynamic is that you are a team. You are building a collective that's oriented towards achieving something or many things. So what is rewarded in this relationship type? Number one is discipline. How able are you to go through your day and work towards a thing that you and her are working towards? Same goes for productivity. Okay. How productive are you? How much do you get done in the day that gets you closer to your goal? How much is she able to support you and help you to that end? That is the thing that's going to bring the two of you together. That sense of shared camaraderie, that we are conquering something together, that we are like a Bonnie and Clyde, that we're taking on the world together. Which means that vision is also very important in this type of relationship. You need to be going somewhere. Out of the people in my life that I know that have these types of relationships, they need to have conversations. They need to have regular dialogue about the goals that they're setting. They need to talk about their dreams. They need to talk about their ambitions. They need to talk about the things that they're working towards. And it should go without saying that the things that are punished include laziness and stagnation. Literally the two things that don't work you towards your goal and give you a sense of accomplishment and a woman a sense that she is winning by supporting you. That's it. It's dead. Okay. So how do we initiate? How do we initiate this type of relationship? You need to lead with competence. Competence is huge here. I mean, it's big with any of these relationship dynamics, but this one's particularly important because she's judging you based on your ability to get things done. You need to demonstrate that you have ambition and that you have direction because she is looking for a man to support in her feminine role. You need to speak about your visions and goals. I think it would be great if we did this together. You know, I'm working on this, right? I'm working on my business. I'm working on a nonprofit. And I got this little, like, this side thing that I kind of want to grow, right? And give her a story. Be like, yeah, you know, it'd be amazing if I had someone to help do something, or something to help me do XYZ. Give her some stories, give her some framework that she can imagine herself integrating into your life. The biggest seductive tool that you have with a woman is her imagination. Let her imagine a life with you. This is so key, particularly with this relationship type, because it is goal focused. And you need to show decisiveness. I mean, this literally comes down to the approach. If you're dithering and you're hesitating and you're like, I don't know. No. It kills this type of relationship because it shows you're not this type of person. You need to walk right over to her and talk to her. Be like, I'm considering you for this position in my life. Do you fit? Yes or no? Decisive. The key thing to remember with this phase is that connection comes from capability. How much are you able to accomplish together? Connection. How we build a connection. Okay. Now we have this initiated. She knows who you are as a person. She knows that you're ambitious. You're looking for someone to go in a particular direction together. How do we build a connection? You need to align your life direction so that she feels included and that you can go somewhere together. You're going to discuss things like standards and expectations. This is what I want. This is what I expect of you. This is how I want you to show up in my life. You need to respect her competence and her input. If you want her to be part of your mission, where the two of you are going somewhere together, it's so important that you show appreciation and respect for her contributions to your relationship. And you need to avoid clinginess and dependency. Codependency is tragic with this relationship type because you're working towards something together. A lot of times guys feel that sense of like, okay, we're in this together, we're sort of inseparable. Then it creates that sense of cleanness, like you can't do this without each other. And that leads to just a tragic end. So the goal with connection here is mutual respect and a shared trajectory. Are you two going in the same direction? How do we escalate this? How do we move this closer to a climax? How do we move this closer to sex? How do we get more intimacy? The escalation comes from admiration and trust. You need to trust each other, okay? And as you achieve your goals and she wants to support you, she's going to want to help support you emotionally and physically. And you're creating exactly that. You're creating an opportunity for her. So the attraction really comes from discipline and respect of each other's goals. You cannot, with this relationship type, you cannot make the sex purely physical. The sex itself does not justify the sex. It is a result of coming together and building towards something. That intimacy, that sense of togetherness, where you ultimately come together physically, is a result of your shared mission. And you need to frame the intimacy as a connection between two capable people. And one way that you can do this is as you set goals and you achieve things, right? You celebrate. Yeah, we did this thing together. This is so amazing. Oh my God, I love you so much. I couldn't have done it without you. Come here. Let me kiss you. Let me hold you. Okay. So, what do we do long term? This relationship type is probably the most amenable to a long term connection. Why? Because you're going to continue setting goals and progressing, and she's going to continue to support you. You have to avoid complacency. When you have a relationship that's predicated on ambition and achieving goals, you can never stop, but nor should you want to. Because if you're that type of person who loves to set goals and loves to achieve things, you would feel empty if you ever stopped doing that. It's important to always set joint goals. You are a team. She needs to be included on your mission. And you always need to maintain mutual admiration. So, in all the ways that she supports you, all the ways that she perhaps goes off and achieves her own goals, always, always, always being supportive. The key takeaway with this phase, particularly this relationship type, and the long term, if one partner stagnates, the relationship and the attraction erodes. Number 4, adventure. This relationship is centered around shared experiences rather than connection, definitions, or contrast. So it sets itself apart from all of the previous relationship types. The tone of this relationship is one of playfulness, it's one of discovery, and it's one of lightheartedness. It's the least serious of all the relationship types. The thing that's going to bring you guys together is this kind of shared attitude towards discovering things, newness, novelty, and excitement. So your communication style is going to be spontaneous. It's going to be much more experience-based. You're going to convey more things that you want to do together, experiences that you want to have. The dynamic here is very simple. You are co-explorers. Okay? But this is a much more equal relationship where the two of you are going out into the world and experiencing it together. What's rewarded in this relationship? Openness. Being open about being open about your needs, wants, desires, the things you want to experience, doing things together, trying things together, going places. It's all about adventure and also flexibility. Proving that you are the kind of person who isn't so static, isn't so rigid, is critical to this relationship type. And what's punished? Rigidity. If you're set in your ways and you do things the same way every time, the other person's going to get bored and they're going to peace out. And also, and frankly, this goes with any relationship type, but particularly with this one, is cleanness. Because if the idea is you're coming together for, shared novelty and shared experiences, right? The moment you need her more than she needs you, right? Then that shows a level of emotional investment that isn't really congruent with this relationship type. This relationship type is less about that emotional connection so much as it is about, oh, we did this thing together. We had an amazing time. Oh, that was so thrilling. I can't believe we did that. Let's do it again. And as a quick aside, this is the kind of relationship that lends itself very well to casual sex. So if that's something that you're looking for, I would focus on this. So let's talk about the 4 phases. Number 1, the initiate phase. You need to invite her into experiences rather than conversation. It's not about the talk, it's about the doing and the experiencing together. Being spontaneous or suggesting something unusual is a great way to build some interest, some intrigue. That's going to signal to this woman that, oh, hey, this is the kind of guy who just wants to have fun and do some interesting, fun things together. And you generally want to avoid overly serious or deep topics early on. It needs to be fun. It needs to be lighthearted. It needs to be very casual, take it or leave it. Let's do this thing. I want to experience that. You look like the kind of person who would love to do XYZ. Let's do that together. And it's not so much about, tell me about your childhood traumas. Tell me about what shapes you as a person. Your goal here is to create momentum through shared activity. So what about connection? How do we build a connection with this relationship type? Inside jokes are a great way to do this. Also, shared memories. Hey, you remember that time back when we, did whatever, right? Anything that creates this sense that you and her had an experience that no one else had. Introducing new environments or new experiences, going out and doing novel things. This doesn't necessarily mean going to an amusement park, although you certainly can. It means going someplace that's maybe a little bit different, not necessarily a common place, or doing something. I mean, even if you just go out for drinks, you just talk about topics, you do things in a way that are a little bit different. Play a little game together. Do something that makes it more interesting than the last date that she went on. As a rule of thumb, you want to keep the conversation light, but engaging. Your goal with the connection is to build an emotional association through shared experiences, through a sense of novelty. Oh, I remember I did this thing with this guy that I never did with anybody else. That's it. So how do we escalate this? How do we move things to something that's a little more physical? It's important that the escalation happens at moments of peak excitement and or shared energy. So at these moments where you are doing something or experiencing something that's new and novel that she hasn't done with anybody else, those are moments where it's like, oh my God, you're so special. I can't believe I'm doing this with you. It's important that you allow the physical closeness to happen through your experiences. You're weaving physicality into a shared sense of experience and novelty. And it needs to feel spontaneous. This is so critical. This is probably the most important thing. Okay. It needs to feel spontaneous and not structured. It needs to feel like it just happened. There's no plan here. It's just you're doing things. Oh, and this is the thing that happened. Oh, we had ended up having sex. Okay. It's funny as I'm recording this, I'm thinking to myself, I remember having a coach back in the day who taught me to do this with every single woman, which is interesting because that was the type of coach that he was. And as a coach, that was the type of girls that he went for. He went for adventurous type of girls, but it never worked for me because I was applying it to the wrong type of girls. Some girls need the structure. Some girls need that sense of togetherness and, that there is a plan, but not all the time, as we can see with this relationship type. For the principle to take away for this particular phase is that momentum drives attraction. Okay. It's that sense of shared experiences and shared energy, shared emotions. You're doing things together. That's what drives things forward. That's what drives you closer and closer emotionally and physically. So, what do we do long term? If you want to take this relationship and project it out years into the future, you need to continue to introduce novelty into the relationship. That includes in the bedroom. Okay. You need to avoid rigid processes, rigid structures, routines, anything that kind of gets old and stale. It's just going to get boring. As soon as it's boring, she's going to lose interest. You always need to have that sense that you're exploring something together. This is going to be critical with this relationship type. So if the relationship becomes predictable, you start doing the same things, having the same conversations, right? Always having that good morning text, always doing the same things in the bedroom, same positions. The excitement is going to fade, and so will the attraction. Number 5, transformation. This type of dynamic is formative. It reshapes your identity. The tone of this type of relationship is one of depth. It's one of influence and inspiration. Your communication style is going to be one of reflection, self-reflection, or reflecting on something that she may have said. It's going to be one of guidance, but it's also going to be much more intimate. It's going to be much more one of understanding vulnerabilities, understanding depth. So the dynamic of this relationship is one in which you each lead in certain domains. There's going to be things that you're stronger at than the other person, and there's going to be things that you're weaker at that the other person can help you with. It's this collaboration and this camaraderie that brings you together. What's rewarded in this relationship is growth. It's primarily growth oriented. It's about growing as an individual and it's about growing together. It's also very trust centered. Why? Because you're revealing things about yourself that you don't tell other people. You need to be okay with opening up with your partner, whoever it is, right? You with her or her with you, and talk about very deep emotions, deep thoughts, and the weaknesses that you have. And it's also about self expansion. When you're growing as an individual because of the other person's involvement in the relationship, that helps to bring the two of you together. It helps to solidify the fact that you need each other. So, what's punished in this relationship type? Regression. When you go back to your old way of doing things and you show that her contributions to the relationship and to you as an individual didn't really count for that much, it's going to justifiably leave her disappointed. Another thing that kills this relationship, I mean, this is all relationships, but especially this one, is emotional immaturity. When you show that you are not either A, mature as an individual, or B, that you're not capable of change and you remain in an immature and childish emotional state, it kills the attraction. So how do we initiate this relationship type? You need to engage through thoughtful and reflective conversation. You want to talk about deep things pretty much right away. And it can be as simple as, you seem like there's more to you than meets the eye. That alone is enough. And then obviously branch off into a deep conversation, right? It's not about delivering lines. But showing that the initiative and the willingness to engage on a deeper emotional level than most people is what will set you apart. So then ask deeper questions. Talk about deeper emotions and feelings. The idea here is to show your insights and your emotional awareness. This is what's going to trigger this type of relationship. Your goal here is to spark curiosity and personal growth. Now, what about connection? How do we build that lasting, sustaining connection with this relationship type? You need to encourage vulnerability. You need to express that it is okay to open up and talk about things that you or her may not normally talk about. You need to have that vulnerability. You need to share formative experiences. Tell her stories about a time that you changed for the better, that you were one way and now you're different and better because of it. You need to talk about the lessons that you've learned, the things that you've come to realize about yourself. You need to demonstrate your ability that you're capable of growing as a person. And you need to make her feel understood. And it needs to be an understanding that's beyond surface level traits and characteristics. The goal here is to establish a meaningful influence in each other's lives. So, how do we escalate this? How do we move this towards greater intimacy? Escalation grows from emotional intensity and closeness. It's the kind of thing that you feel so understood. You feel like you're so open with this person that you just want to share each other's presence, share your mind, your emotions, and your bodies. You need to let the intimacy grow from trust and depth. When she feels like you understand her better than anybody else, that creates a very lasting emotional impression. You absolutely need to make sure that the physical connection does not feel casual. It needs to come as a result of the emotional depth and the growth that you're building together. So, intimacy here represents connection and meaning. So, what do you do for the long term? How do you project this out years into the future? You need to support each other's evolution. That is what brings you together. You are growing together as individuals and becoming more than you could have alone. You need to encourage new ideas, new habits, and new perspectives. And you always, always, always need to have an intellectual and emotional depth. If the growth stops, the relationship has no purpose. And if it has no purpose, it will die. So you need to match your relationship type with the things that you want. So I'll illustrate this with some examples. Say you're looking for a hookup, right? Just a casual whirlwind experience. You're going to go out on the town. You're going to meet a girl. It's going to be amazing. You're going to have an amazing sexual adventure together. And they're going to part ways, and that's it. You're definitely going to want a lot more passion. You need the tension. You need the stimulation. You need the polarity that comes with that relationship dynamic. You also need to have elements of adventure. This idea that you're going to do something together, you're going to have an amazing experience together, is what drives this relationship forward. And you're definitely going to want less romance. It's less about a love story. It's a lot less about transformation. You're not coming together to become better people. That's just not how it's going to be. And that's not how it's going to be, and that's okay. And you're not really going to have a shared ambition. Other than having a wonderful night together, you're not building any long-term goals or plans together. These relationships prioritize excitement, novelty, and attraction rather than long-term potential. But say you're looking for a homemaker. You're looking for a mom, a wife, a long-term partner. In this relationship, you're going to want to have more romance. You want more of that story together. You want to have ambition. You want to have something that you're working towards, even if it's just as simple as having a healthy family. You want to have ambition, even if it's as simple as just having a healthy family that you're building together. And you want to have some element of transformation because it's inevitable that you're going to grow together. Having that sense that you are going to improve as an individual because of your partnership is going to be amazing for building that connection. But for this relationship type, you definitely want less adventure. Why? Because yes, you need to have some novelty, you need to have newness, but the novelty wears off. It's inevitable. It's the nature of long-term relationships. You can't build your relationship on adventure. It's not a strong foundation for the long term. And you can't have pure passion. And I say pure passion because you always have to have some passion. You have to. It is that spark that keeps the relationship alive. So you always have to have some. But there's a lot less emphasis on that pure passion element where it's not a high priority in the relationship. Why? Because long-term relationships require growth, stability, and shared direction rather than emotional volatility and short-term adventure. Most men fail simply because they apply the wrong relationship frame. They try to create romance with someone who's seeking adventure. They try to create passion while acting predictably. They try to have ambition with someone who just needs emotional safety. The skill here is identifying the story that the relationship wants to take and guiding it with intention. And this takes time to discover. You're going to discover the relationship type and the various mixes and blends of the different archetypes over time. It's not something that's going to be apparent right away. And it's also going to change over time as your relationship evolves and as you evolve as a person. So if you want my help to help transform your dating life, you can reach out to me using the links in the description. If you like this video, you like the content, then hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to get notified for more. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.